We're going to want to make sure first that our virtual environment is on. So we'll navigate to wherever your virtual environments folder is. And then, depending on your operating system, go ahead and turn on your virtual environment. We'll want to make sure that Flask is indeed installed. So we'll run pip list and we'll see Flask. So we're good to go. So let's navigate to our Flask fundamentals folder. And in here, we're going to create a new directory called Hello Flask. Moving forward, for every assignment you do, you should have a new folder and put all of the files needed in that folder. The first assignment, there'll only be one file, but just get in the habit, because every file after that, there are going to be several files that will go together, and you'll want to keep them in separate project folders, just to stay organized. So we're going to open the Hello Flask folder. There's nothing in it yet, but a quick trick to open it up in VS Code is to type code space dot, and that will open up the folder. Again, I highly recommend opening folders in VS Code instead of individual files. It'll really help keep you organized. So we're just going to add a file in here called server.py. Zoom in a little bit. And let's take this code from the platform one line at a time. So the first line is from Flask, import Flask. And all this line is saying is we want to use some existing code and particularly want to use the Flask class. So let's just run this file to make sure that we've got it installed. So we're going to run our server.py file just as we have. We don't get a response. Nothing happens because we didn't do anything, but we don't get errors, and that's what's important here, to make sure that it does indeed know how to import Flask. The next line is we're going to actually create an instance. Hopefully this looks kind of familiar. We might not know what this part is, but hopefully this looks familiar. We're creating an instance of the Flask class. And this piece is kind of interesting, is that every Python file actually has a variable in it called __name. And so all that means is that even if we don't write anything, we can just go ahead and print name, just real quick to see what it is. If we run this file, the file's name when we run it directly is called main. And that's all we need to know for now. So we'll go ahead and put this code back and let's continue. The next piece, as we kind of saw a preview in a previous video, is this is how we're going to actually connect routes that the user can type in to functions that will return the kind of HTML that we're looking for. So we may have several of these, sets of these routes associated with their functions in our Flask apps. And then finally, this last line just indicates that as long as the name of the file is, in fact, main, meaning we are running this file directly, then go ahead and run the file and keep our app open, the Flask app open, and we're going to turn debug on, meaning show us error messages. Once we deploy and we are ready to send this application out to our clients, we would turn debug off, but for now, it's helpful for us to see error messages. So let's test it out. So now when we run the server, notice that it just hangs open. The fact that this hangs open is this part of the line, where it runs and keeps our application running. And notice now it's listening on port 5000. So in our browser, let's go to port 5000. And we'll see this message, which is exactly what that function returned. If we change this, notice too, when we have the debugger on, it detected some changes, and so then restarted the server. So we can refresh the page, and notice now we have 2 exclamation points as we updated in our code. So that's that piece. In the next one, we'll talk a little bit more about routes.